questions, if you don't mind. As a PhD student, I'm intrigued to know what it was like when you guys did your PhDs. I understand you met the 30th of January 1975, when you were both starting your PhDs. So I bet things were a bit different back then.
Well, yes, I guess for a start we wouldn't have been having a drink at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We used to work really long hours in those days. And all for just a few dollars that the Commonwealth Scholarship would provide us. We probably couldn't have even afforded a beer then.
I used to work 6 days a week. I had to be at work 5 hours before my supervisor got in, bow and scrape as he came through the door, make his morning tea and toast, bring him his paper and mail, read them to him, polish his boots and press his overalls, wait on him hand and foot, and when he went home at the end of the day, I could get back to my own work.
You were lucky. I didn't see my supervisor for 3 years while we were on a wine and cheese tasting sabbatical in France. And keeping his secretary happy, and then work another 12-hour night shift to earn enough money to buy a few scraps of food and pay rent for my filthy cockroach-infested digs in Glebe. And at weekends, I had to go and work on my supervisor's farm, building yards and fences, castrating his cattle, shearing his sheep for free, just so he'd let me do a PhD in his lab in first place.
Lab, did you say? We didn't even have a proper laboratory. There were 25 of us, crammed into an old asbestos gatekeeper's hut at the bottom of Science Road with no ventilation, no electricity or running water, but we managed. We had none, but we were happy.
Well, when I said it were a lab, it was just an abandoned bush dunny at end and shearing shed. But it was a laboratory to us. We used to do some marvellous experiments in there with just basic equipment and a few dollars grant money.
Equipment? Grants? We had nothing. We had to go begging in streets, crawl on our hands and knees to Wool Corporation and lick their boots clean, just for a few coppers to buy a few pessaries.
You're lucky to be able to buy pessaries. When I said equipment, we used to have to make our own equipment. We'd go scavenging at Tempy Tip for bits and pieces we needed. I remember once making a centrifuge out of an old washing machine, powered by an old bicycle, making technicians pedal till they dropped to spin down seamen. And we made an old electro-ejaculator out of an old dildo we found in King's Cross, powered by Van de Graaff generator we borrowed from Karl Krusenitsky's granddad. Poor Ram never knew what hit him when he got 5,000 volts on his backside. But we used to make our own fun in them days.
How on earth did you get ethics approval for that?
Ethics? We didn't need ethics at all. Our animals were tough.
And we couldn't wait 2.5 years for a jumped-up miniature megalomaniac and a committee of mamby-pamby anthropomorphising welfare wowsers to give us a bloody number to operate under. We'd just string sheep up to the rafters by its back legs with a bit of rope, give it a bullet to bite on, hit it on the head with a rubber hammer and perform major abdominal surgery with a knife and fork. We'd sew it back up with baling twine, send it back out in paddock to his loved ones, and have results all written up before breakfast. The chief never complained in them days.
No, they'd never complained. In fact, when they looked at you with that funny, baleful sheep sort of way, you just knew that they were honoured and proud to be part of greatness. We just got on with our vivisection and writing dozens of papers and inventing stuff to make our supervisors famous.
So with all these inventions and discoveries, I bet you guys generated heaps of intellectual property.
Intellectual property? We didn't need intellectual property.
Not intellect.
We'd no time to wait for some useless lawyer with an MBA to spend 3 years negotiating a royalty contract in the unlikely event that it might one day recoup a minuscule fraction of his vast fat cat salary while the rest of us workers did all the real work. So we just used to work for the good of the nation and the Prime Minister. Every time I looked at an artificial vagina, I used to think of Malcolm Fraser.
The best let's stick my electro-ejaculator up my ram's backside, think of Gough Whitlam, and sing Advance Australia Farewell. We all stood to attention.
I think it's probably a change of subject in line here. So what were computers like back in your day?
Computers? We didn't have computers. We didn't even have an abacus. We worked it all out by hand.
But what about statistical analysis? What on earth did you do for that?
Statistics? We didn't need statistics. If your experimental data didn't stick out like dog's balls, the experiment wasn't worth doing in the first place.
But what about word processing? Surely.
Word processing? We processed words all right. Every night before I went home, I'd have to write out my results in triplicate and draft a paper using a stick of charcoal on a slate and present it to my supervisor first thing next day.
That would have made it terribly difficult to produce a thesis.
Aye, we had to do that using a quill and parchment in beautiful copper plate writing. At least 1,000 pages in triplicate. I had to review every article ever published in English, Russian, Arabic and Hungarian, and if there was a mistake, he'd rip it up, set it on fire, sit on top of me, and make me recite the Communist Manifesto in front of the other students. all over again. I learned a lot that way.
Yeah, that's nothing. After I'd written out my 5,000-page thesis 10 times to his satisfaction, I had to defend it by reciting Marshall's Physiology of Reproduction, Hammond's Farm Animals, Snedeker and Cochrane, Fisher and Yates' Statistical Tables, University Calendars of Sydney and Cambridge, the complete works of Molière and the Country Party Manifesto, word for word in English, Latin, Greek and French, while hanging from a meat hook by my feet. And if I made a mistake, he'd poke my eyes with burnt sticks and pull out my fingernails.
And if you tell the students of today that, they won't believe it.
Yeah, they won't believe it.
I think we better move on.